Jesse, can I take this one?
Yeah.
Okay. There's the new restaurant there has not had that septic tank pumped on the JDs for many years. And apparently, according to what I found out long before I was involved or Jesse was involved, there was an issue with the previous operator and the fact that the septic tank lid is probably under 2 feet of, at least 2 feet of dirt. And there was an argument as to who's responsible for bringing a riser up to make that accessible. So this is, again, this is owned by Chan, and so the issue is going to be how do we proceed from here? If we don't do something about this now, and this restaurant becomes popular, what are the odds of something happening over Christmas and New Year's when the carpet is frozen, parking lot is frozen solid, and things are flowing back into the restaurant because it hasn't been pumped in so many years. So anyway, I just want to bring this to the board's attention. That I don't think this issue was ever resolved between Chan and the previous operator, but we're just presenting this to the board to figure out maybe an appropriate plan of action on this. And this also information comes from Drains Plus, Brian at Drains Plus, who actually did pump that tank 10 or 12 years ago, and reminding me that this was the issue. Well, he's the sort of that concern that if we don't do something about it, it may come in time when the ground is completely frozen and you can't get access to the lid. And this is in the middle of their dirt parking lot, just east of the restaurant.
Well, in finding the location, I mean, it should be fairly simple sending a probe down the sewer with a line that can tell you when it goes into the tank.
Is there any cleanup?
And Jen, you're correct. The issue is going to be, of course, if we follow district policy as Jesse was talking about, that would be built in the property owner to find that because they're basically keeping it covered based upon policy.
Yeah.
Would there be any way we could find anything with just a simple metal detector?
I tried it with my metal detector equipment. I think it's deep enough that it's gone past it. We were originally thinking, well, when Jade was out there doing work around the mercantile out here, done scratch around for it, but I found out probably too deep just to scratch around and look for it, tearing up a parking lot. But I just want to bring this to the board's attention due to the sensitive nature of potential negotiations.
I was thinking that if we could do a minimal, drive-by with some tooling and be able to find it for them and then say, okay, now it's on you to uncover it, put whatever it needs done, that would be on them. I mean, we want to be able to help who we can, but we're not going to put ourselves out and cost our members money.
We might want to verify if the
Possibly a
traffic rate is
GPR, we
good.
can get Northwest Stephen has a step on it, but utility out there with GPR.
Be consistent.
So I will say, per policy, here's some liability discussions that you guys, so there's kind of like 3 aspects that we have here. It's locating where the tank is to be able to find the lid so that we can dig it out. There's uncovering the tank, and then there's installing the riser. I could see where per our policy or ordinance, sewer ordinance, it could be vague on whose responsibility it is to have initially installed that riser. Whether it was, because it's been there, the district knew about it, and when we take on a tank. But we do have in our rate schedule, it is the customer's responsibility going back to uncovering the lid itself, so excavation work and such, that it is on the customer and it's in our rate schedule that is their responsibility to have the lid exposed at all times. And then there's cammering the line again, going back to that, and who's our ordinance state that I actually am not totally clear on locating, like a cammering the line, and where that could become vague.
Jesse, can I add to that, Jesse?
Absolutely.
I wonder if we should wait to meet with Kyle on the whole issue with Rouse, because that may very much have a bearing, if we need to have a proper riser on there, whose responsibility that is. And maybe then we can, after that, we can tackle this issue, and if that's going to be September, so be it.
Yeah, the KG&T one is a little bit different because we already did pay for that. And we did pay for that riser
Yes.
in that case, so
That's true.
I don't know.
So we can set a precedent, which
Yeah.
then is gonna be difficult
And
to back off of, so.
yeah, so, whereas redoing it, certainly I would think we would want KG&T to pay for that since we already paid for it once, it wasn't done right. Makes sense that they would pay for
Right.
that one. But, going back to the Taverna
Yeah.
parking lot one is kinda like, I don't know, do you break it up and say this one's yours, that one's yours, or what? Go ahead, Bob.
Well, to tie into that with routes, do we want to use, concrete risers instead? Or do we need to have any further discussion with Kyle and Ben on that to make that correct, because it's the same situation?
Well, I mean, it needs to be traffic rated,
Yeah,
depending on the location,
Yes,
which I
correct.
assume it's in the parking lot, and
Right.
that's kind of our assumption.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
it
is.
need to be legally
Similar
traffic
routes.
rated.
Going back down the hill though, down to Taverna, there is, and I hate to say this, because I don't wanna muddy the mix, but now we're informed that there's part of our district that we haven't been caring for as we say we will. You know, that's a business that we say we will clear that so often, and we haven't been doing that. Well, okay,
We didn't know
we didn't
about
know it was there,
Yeah.
obviously, so we gotta be a little kind on that, but now we know about it.
Bathroom.
Yeah.
So, there's something on us, in my mind, that we need to get down there, we need to clean that up.
Absolutely, yeah.
Bob, have they had any septic problems?
No, they've not had any septic problems. I need to have one more thing to that. Jesse will remember this. Their water is in the middle of the parking lot, a little ways away from that. But we've been talking about moving that out to the easement because it's constantly flooded and we need to give them a new meter. We can't read that one. I'm wondering if maybe some of this work can be scheduled at the same time, should we choose to do that. If it turns out that we need to be doing the work on, locating that septic tank lid or camera work first, whatever. I'm just saying, we got a couple things going on.
Mhm. Yeah, so when we were looking at some of the projects that we needed to do, as Bob was saying, which we discovered the reason why the meter is like in the middle of the parking lot is because it follows a property line and we believe that's where the parking lot originally once ended. Now it's just sitting in the middle of the parking lot, you plow, you grade over it, it's causing a dip down, flooding, it's catching on, it's kind of becoming a problem, so. But when I met with Bob and Dan, we were kind of like, the water maintenance category, we're looking a little capped right now, and I want to save for an emergency, so we put it on hold.
Schedule this, we
But
can,
if
we
we
know
did
about,
the
we can do
same
this
time,
next year, but I think we should find that for you.
I mean, we
myself.
definitely need
I
to,
think we
yeah.
should just go find it.
And pump it.
And pump it. And pump it.
Would agree.
Or,
Okay,
yeah, for starters.
okay, all right. So the district, locates the tank, installs,
Well, I mean, is there,
is there a portion of it that
or, no,
maybe
Ted,
the
What-
excavation?
Are you paying for the camera?
Well, in terms of,
I'm sorry, this isn't
All
for
right.
me, public can't interfere with their decision.
in terms of the excavation, it would have been nice to have timed it with a water meter, because then you don't bring them in for a second time, unless we have other projects.
I'm going that
we
way.
can get them, and I'd like
I'm
to get
going
them at the same time to save district expense.
Well, and running a camera down there and finding it is not all that expensive.
do we have that
Come
equipment?
on, no, we don't, but the Drains Plus can do it for $200.
Yeah,
Wow, okay. That's,
let's find it.
Yeah.
So, just to be clear, so I know what the board wants me to do. The district's gonna camera the line, and who's gonna install
That's
the
my
riser?
question.
Well, yeah, in that case, I would suggest we install the riser.
Okay, and who pays for the excavation to uncover the lid?
Well, that's written in our,
Rate schedule.
yeah,
but still, if we have equipment that's there that we know isn't to code, or could cause We don't know, it could have a load rated riser, but it's just buried. We don't.
Yeah, I guess it's possible.
I know.
Yeah. Anything's possible with this.
And there's no record at Greens Plus, Bob, from when they pumped it 12 years ago?
No, I've already talked to Brian about it, he says there isn't, he just kinda gave me the backstory to it, 12 years
So-
ago.
There was access 12 years ago, is what you're saying. They pumped it 12 years.
But it's fairly deep, there was a time when at least it was a couple feet down, it wasn't just a few inches of dirt over it, according to them at that time. There was question mark who was responsible for getting the riser to get up, and that's where it was left with the owner and the previous operator.
Well, Brian has a mind of a steel trap. I mean, he knows every one of those septic tanks. And an approximate idea if he's ever pumped it.
I see the ordinance stating the customer needs to keep access available for this type of work with more of an intent. Residential isn't done that often. People do yard work, people do changes, stuff happens, it gets buried. Yeah, the customer needs to keep it accessible. I just don't want us to get into the, okay, now we're gonna do this for everybody, you know. Heaven forbid we all of a sudden hear about 7 more of these tanks that we didn't know were under the ground.
I'm one of them.
So was I.
So if you're gonna pay for that camera, you're paying for my camera.
We need to know where everything is.
I would agree.
We need to, we don't have a perfect system, we don't. It's so, it's
It was a
so
long time
muddled.
ago. It was a long time ago when they did it.
Right.
And the records weren't obviously very good.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if we're gonna camera this and it's $200, and we've got more that we know about, and it's another couple $100 for
Do them all
those,
at once.
we do them all at once. Because we all inherited this system, and we're all doing our best to try and make it equitable, and I think we need to make it.
Is there not a connection in the road that you could go backwards? There's gotta be a sewer line in the road somewhere, isn't there? That you could
Our
go
main
backwards?
sewer lines?
Yeah, isn't there one that
Yeah,
runs
but
in
then-
front of there and
But then
you
you
can go
have the
backwards?
pothole to be able to see if it actually is following what you think, where you think it is.
You can't get into the pipe out of the road.
Oh, you can't.
No. You can go in with a clean out.
Oh, then you're trying, it's like trying to unlock your car door with a coat hanger by going through the, if you're trying